everything's set, all the buttons are on, all the power's on, and then you come in here and everybody starts talking inside. You want some papers? Yes, I do.
Test, 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 test. Is it spiking, Todd?
No paper. Yeah, whatever they want. Who did, somebody did that? Yeah. They need to know that he's not here. Yeah. They don't have one there, that's our finance director.
That's right.
It's on the internet. Hey, sing a song.
Gentlemen, ladies, we are all live. We're live.
It's a recorder.
Someone's not just
That's right, finance, let's see here. When we was talking about
way less.
Oh, my God.
We need to have. Yeah.
YouTube.
Jeez. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please call the roll.
Mayor Delacuilla,
Here.
Director Blau Pignatello,
Here.
Councilman at Large Barth,
Here.
Councilman at Large Kranek,
Here.
Councilman at Large Traffus.
Here.
Ward 1 Councilman Biassiata.
Here.
Ward 2 Councilman Frondor.
Here.
Ward 3 Councilman Kukrow.
Here.
Ward 4 Councilman Petro.
Here.
Director of Public Service and Properties Levis.
Here.
Village Commissioner Morrow.
Okay, thank you, Carol. We will now have the reading and disposal of the journal minutes of the regular council meeting held April 11th, 2016.
Yes, Council President.
Councilman Frondor.
Having read the council minutes of council meeting dated April 11th, 2016, I find no errors or omissions. Therefore, I move that they be approved as printed.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. The minutes of the regular council meeting held April 11th, 2016 have been passed. Moving on to consent agenda number 1.
Yes, Council President.
Councilman Frondor.
I move that we amend number 1 of consent agenda number 1 dated April 25th, 2016.
That's the amendment.
You have to remove it.
And remove it.
And it's entirety.
Amend and remove item number 1 of agenda number 1.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? I'd like to mention that the reason this item is being removed from the agenda is because we're going to re-quote it and include a letter of explanation for residents so they understand the purpose of the sewer assessment that they pay, what the reasons are, and how much, actually why they're paying the dollar amount that they are paying. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Consent agenda number 1 has been passed.
No.
Amended consent agenda number 1 has been passed. Moving on to has been amended. Thank you, Tim. Okay.
Council President.
Got a lot on my mind from that last meeting we were just in, sorry. Councilman Frondor.
If there's no division of the question, I move that we accept amended consent agenda number 1 for dated April 25th, 2016.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Now consent agenda number 1 is passed. Moving on to consent agenda number 2, I'm going to mention that I am recusing myself from this item.
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Frondor.
If there's no division of the question, I move that we accept consent agenda number 2 dated April 25th, 2016.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Consent agenda number 2 has been passed. Moving on to resolution number 29, 2016. I will make a motion that we read resolution number 29, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Resolution number 29, 2016, introduced by Mayor Delacuilla and councilpersons Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. A resolution of commendation to the Very Reverend Father Mikhail Edward Mikhail, 2016 inductee to the Cleveland International Hall of Fame.
Resolution number 29, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. I will now make a motion to adopt resolution number 29, 2016.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Resolution number 29, 2016 has been adopted. Resolution number 30, 2016. I will make a motion to read resolution number 30, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Resolution number 30, 2016, introduced by Mayor Delacuilla and councilpersons Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. A resolution of commendation to Fred Borgeli.
Resolution number 30, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 30, 2016.
I second, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tony. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth,
Yes.
Biassiata,
Yes.
Frondor,
Yes.
Kranek,
Yes.
Kukrow,
Yes.
Petro,
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Resolution number 30, 2016 has been adopted. Moving on to the reports of committees. Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee. Our last meeting was held on April 18th. Those meeting minutes have been filed with the clerk, and our next meeting will be held on May 16th. Public Works, Councilman Petro.
Mr. Chairman, our meeting is May 2nd.
Thank you, Councilman. Community Services, Councilman Barth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next meeting will be on May 2nd.
Thank you. Police and Safety, Councilman Kranek.
Mr. Chairman, police safety and fire meeting was last held on April 18th. Minutes will be filed with the clerk. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 16th.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Councilman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our last Parks and Recreation meeting was, I believe, on April 18th, and our next meeting will be on May 16th.
Thank you. Rules, Ordinances, and Ethics, Councilman Biassiata.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last meeting was a special one on April 18th, and our next meeting will be on May 2nd.
Thank you. Finance, Civil Service, and Personnel, Councilman Frondor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Our last meeting was on April 18th. Our next meeting is on May 2nd. And once again, my apologies to the council clerk. You will have my minutes first thing in the morning.
Mr. President,
Councilman Kukrow.
yeah, I misstated. Our next meeting is May 2nd, not May 16th.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to appointments and confirmations. Are there any, Mr. Mayor?
No, there are not.
Thank you. Communications, petitions, and claims.
Yes, I have two letters that I'd like to read into the record. The first is from Kathy Seeley. She writes to Mayor Delaquila on Monday, April 18th regarding, in response to your letter, responding to my complaints about the rec center. Dear Mr. Delaquila, I received your letter in response to my complaints at the City Council meeting on Monday, April 11th. I would first like to make it clear how disappointed I am that you didn't address me at the meeting when I was voicing all of my concerns. You have not once apologized for how my husband and I have been treated by Ms. Renz and Ms. Drinko. You are ultimately the one responsible for the rec center. Your letter did not address all of my complaints and concerns. To make it clear, let me explain again. As I stated at the council meeting, I completely understand the reason for registering by Thursday is because the Parma City Transportation Department plans their routes on Fridays. I am asking for you to change the policy to separate registering and paying. Registering for childcare should take place twice a year, once for the school year and once for summer care. Paying should be completely separate from registering. Every other child care facility operates this way. Our rec center is the only one who doesn't. It makes my life very difficult. Life is difficult enough without raising a family and going back to work full-time after being home for 10 years. I am completely aware I have forgotten to register 3 times since we have started. This is brand new to me. The website is difficult to use and the policy should be like every other place where registration and payment are totally separate. I would expect the people at the rec center to understand this and have a little compassion. Instead, we have been yelled at and treated terribly. There is no reason or excuse for their rudeness. In February, when I forgot to register, I called the rec center and talked to Jen, and she said it was going to be okay to send my kids. My husband took our kids to drop them off in the morning. Ms. Renz was there. She ripped the sign-in sheet out of his hands, raised her voice, and yelled at him, saying the kids are not allowed to be there, and his wife is lying. He brought the kids home and waited for them to get on the bus from home and went into work late, which, by the way, his job is not flexible. He said that day he never wants to go back there again. I called and talked to Jen about it, and she apologized for Mrs. Renz and said my kids could go the rest of the week and even sign them up for the following week at no charge. Because of that, we decided to stay. That Monday, the counselor at the rec and the transportation department called me, concerned my kids were not at the rec. So it was in everyone's records, my kids should be at the rec, even though I didn't register them. A couple of weeks ago, I forgot because my husband picked the kids up. I prefer to register when I pick them up on Thursdays because the website is so difficult to use. It takes 10 minutes to sign up 2 kids for both before and after care. Friday, Miss Renz called me, was pleasant, and said I forgot to register. Would I like to do that? I said yes, sorry, thanks. I paid over the phone with her, and she told me she would email my receipt. I never received an email. I forgot again the next week because again I didn't pick them up. I didn't remember until Sunday, April 10th. I called the rec center and I talked to Miss Drinko. She said too bad, there's nothing she can do. I drove up to the rec center and asked for the manager. Miss Drinko came out. I asked her to please sign my kids up. She was instantly rude to me. Again, she said too bad, there's nothing she can do. I said I forgot in the past, and they have been able to add my kids for the week. She was completely rude and kept refusing to help me. She told me, you can call Joanne on Monday. I asked her, what is Miss Rentz's schedule, and she refused to tell me. I asked her to please look at her schedule again, and she refused. I paid $400 for a family membership, $150 per week for before and after care, totaling approximately $6,000. In the summer, I would pay $275 per week for summer camp, totaling approximately $3,300, and breakfast is $2 per child. I would have paid the rec center over $10,000 for the year. In conclusion, I am asking for disciplinary action against Ms. Rentz and Ms. Drinko for how rude they were to my husband and me. Additionally, I am asking for a policy change to separate registration and payment. I really hope you choose to do the right thing for me and my family and the other customers of the rec center. Sincerely, Kathy Seeley. I also have a communication from Norman and Tracy Martin of Ruth Drive. In the email, in the cover email, she says, based upon the description of the proposed development and the additional feedback provided by our neighbors, I have attached language that we would like to see incorporated into legislative proposals for the Rockside Road PUD. Due to my travel schedule this week, I will not be able to attend this evening's meeting. I request that you please read the attached proposed language into your council record this evening. The sheet reads as follows. It's entitled PUD Language and Conditions for the Rockside Road Project, Impact on Ruth Drive and Cindy Lane. Recommendation, legislative language to reduce the impacts on home values and viewscapes. Protecting viewscapes. We have listed vegetation and design, and the bullet points are no removal of any vegetation within 150 feet of the southern lot line. No building structures or improvements to be placed within 150 feet of the southern lot line. Construction of 3-foot landscape mound along the southern portion of the property between the proposed building and wooded vegetation. 6-foot high fir or evergreen trees are to be placed on 6-foot centers on the landscape mounds. Parentheses, an evergreen tree typically more than 40 feet tall at maturity, and parentheses. All plant materials must be maintained in attractive and healthy condition. Memory building not to exceed 1 story, no parking behind the memory building, no commercial trash pickup bins behind the building. Open space must be protected by a binding legal instrument that is recorded with the PUD agreement. Since the property has been abandoned for a number of years, there's a lot of trash and trash vegetation down in the creek. There should be a routine maintenance of the creek to keep the water flowing and to keep the beauty of nature. The memory building is to have painting and material design appropriate for the surrounding environment, such as earth tones color scheme. Under lighting, we have point 1, parking lots that have views of southern boundary, screening to be provided around visitor parking areas to prevent headlight spill towards southern boundary. Other lighting on the building. In order to direct light downward and minimize the amount of light spill, all lighting fixtures must be full or partial cutoff fixtures. A, building mounted security light fixtures such as wall packs may not protect above the fascia or roof line of the building and must be shielded. Lighting fixtures may be a maximum of 12 feet in height within non-vehicular pedestrian areas measured at finished grade. Next category, emergency access road. Access is to be limited by a gate and kept closed except for emergency personnel, such as fire and emergency rescue. Normal ambulance transport, employees, deliveries, or visitors are not to use this access. The gate is to be required to be maintained and function. Next item, failure to maintain. In the event the party responsible for maintenance of the buildings and grounds fails to maintain all or any portion in reasonable order and condition, City of Seven Hills may assume responsibility for its maintenance and may enter the premises and take corrective action, including the provision of extended maintenance and the issuance of a fee to recover the costs of providing such corrective action. And that, again, is from Norman and Tracy Martin.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, council will now be open to the audience on legislation only. If you have any comments about legislation on today's agenda, please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Bill Mason. I'm a resident of the city. I live at 3667 Rachel Court. I am one of the groups of the developers who are, our group is called Glenn's Landing, who is part of the proposal that's been out in front over this last 2 hours you conversed about. We have 16.7 acres under contract, and we're ready to close probably within the next 30 days. We'll be closed. On January 4th, we submitted our plans to the Planning Commission, Glenn's Landing LLC, a preliminary plan of the structures that we'd like to put on those properties. It's an elderly care campus, and it was introduced to the new Planning Commission, which was changed, as you know, back in February, I believe. We're proposing 3 buildings with 3 stories high on 16.7 acres. One building would be assisted living, a second building would be independent care, and a third would be memory care. The development will provide senior residents with elderly care options, citizens in this community with job opportunities, increased tax revenue. We projected it to be about $6 million in payroll, and increased property values in the city. The investment, the total investment for our venture is going to be about $50 to $60 million. The proposal envisions connectivity between Seven Hills and Independence. I've seen some of the planning that is done in the past where they talk about connecting behind Rockside Road to the traffic flows. We propose a connection off of Oak Tree Boulevard in Independence into Seven Hills on a new road that we will create that will hopefully run into the Seven Hills parcels up on the north. We also propose we work with the other developers and figure out a traffic pattern for that whole area that lets that whole area breathe a little bit better than it currently does today. Today, council tabled the first reading on ordinance number 53, the PUD. I think that was a wise decision. And I say that not because of the dislike that many have for the attorney, because I am one of them. And I think that attorneys can be very helpful and thoughtful for you. If you listen to your attorneys and file their guidance, when this is completed, you'll be very happy with the results because you'll be protected. They're going to do a good job. The law firm you've hired, Squire Sanders Patton, is a very good law firm. You can't do much better, so you're in good shape. But a lot of times, these economic development projects, they're kind of like making sausage. You know, it's all kind of getting mixed up and meshed up. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't look good while you're making it. But when you're done, you get a pretty good product. And I think that's what's going to happen here in the long run when we get to that day. It was clear that the law department hasn't had a lot of input into that ordinance. And I think that's very important as you get stepped off. I know it could be amended at any time, and that could happen. But I think you should have very deliberate conversations about what you want to see in that project. For instance, the ordinance, what it didn't have in there was all the other parcels that are part of that, probably about 100 acres, the last 100 acres in Seven Hills that can probably be developed. That ordinance didn't encompass it. I mean, what's not in there is the land that the city owns. There's an acre and a half of land owned by the city of Seven Hills right at the mouth of the development. That's not part of that PUD that's being introduced, or was going to be introduced. Our 16.7 acres, which is immediately behind your land, will be formerly from First Energy property. That's not included in the ordinance. The property that's on the corner of Crossview and Rockside, and those are homeowners there now, but that certainly could be contemplated to be part of this planned unit development. And all the way up the road on Crossview, there's about another 20 acres land that could be encompassed in this whole plan. My suggestion to you is that this whole 70 to 100 acre plan be put together in one big thought, where the traffic is moving as best you can get it, flowing out the way it should, to create the least amount of traffic congestion to the residents. There are clearly two, I haven't heard much about this, but there are two developers who are part of this whole picture. We've heard a lot about LSD Seven Hills Development. They've put on a presentation, but we are also proposing similar uses. And my suggestion is that we not favor one developer over another. We think about the best interest of the city of Seven Hills, what's going to be the best in the long run for this community, and then make decisions that are based on that. I think when we do that, and I'm sure you will, that you're going to get a very good project. It doesn't have to be rushed along. We certainly want to get going. We're very anxious to get going, but we understand there's a process that we got to go through and are willing to do that process and make sure it's right for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody in the first row, second row, third, fourth, fifth? Okay, ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 33, 2016.
Council President,
Councilman Kranek.
I move that we suspend the rules under charter and read ordinance number 33, 2016 by title only for its third and final reading.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata?
Yes.
Frondor?
Yes.
Kranek?
Yes.
Kukrow?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Traffus?
Yes.
Ordinance number 33, 2016, introduced by councilpersons Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance to amend Chapter 107, Public Notice and Public Meetings, as contained in Title 1, General Provisions of Part 1, Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Seven Hills, Ohio, for the purpose of adding new Section 107.08 entitled Public Meeting Decorum.
Ordinance number 33, 2016 has been read for its third and final reading. Is there a motion?
Council President,
Councilman Kranek.
I move that we pass ordinance number 33, 2016.
I'll second that, Council President.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata?
Yes.
Frondor?
Yes.
Kranek?
Yes.
Kukrow?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Traffus?
Yes. Ordinance number 33, 2016 has been passed. Amended ordinance number 34, 2016.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Petro.
I move that council suspends the rules under the charter and reads ordinance 34, 2016 by title only for its final reading.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata?
Yes.
Frondor?
Yes.
Kranek?
Yes.
Kukrow?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Traffus?
Yes.
Amended ordinance number 34, 2016, introduced by councilpersons Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance to amend Section 121.09, Rules of Council, Rule 26, Decorum, subsection B, Audience Residence, as contained in Section 121.09, the Rules of Council, Chapter 121, Council of Title III, Legislative, of Part 1, Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Seven Hills, Ohio, for the purpose of adding a new subsection 121.09B4 regarding audience resident public comment.
Amended ordinance number 34, 2016 has been read for its third and final reading. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Petro.
I move that council passes ordinance 34, 2016.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata?
Yes.
Frondor?
Yes.
Kranek?
Yes.
Kukrow?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Traffus?
Yes. Amended ordinance number 34, 2016 has been passed. Moving on to amended ordinance number 43, 2016.
Mr. President,
Councilman Kukrow.
I move that we suspend the rules under the charter and read amended ordinance number 43, 2016 for its final reading.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Amended ordinance number 43, 2016, introduced by Mayor Delaquila and councilpersons Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an agreement on behalf of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, with Richard L. Bowen and Associates Incorporated of Cleveland, Ohio, to provide professional engineering and architectural services as requested by the city and declaring an emergency.
Amended ordinance number 43, 2016 has been read for its second and final reading. Is there a motion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Kukrow.
I move that we pass amended ordinance number 43, 2016.
I will second that.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman, was it Barth?
I think that's
I didn't hear who said that.
my name. I'm sorry.
Councilman Barth.
I go back to Dick Bone and Associates when I was back with the city, and they did a lot of work at the airport. And I have no doubt at all that they would do a great job for the city. So I'm
Thanks.
excited about them coming on board.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there any further discussion? I would also like to reiterate what Councilman Barth said. I'm very excited about bringing Bowen and Associates to Seven Hills. A couple months ago, we executed the opt-out clause in the contract with our current engineers, OHM, and there's going to be a 1-month overlap period between the two firms so they can transition together. And I think this will be a very good thing for the city of Seven Hills. Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Amended ordinance number 43, 2016 has been passed. Ordinance number 45, 2016.
Mr. President,
Councilman Biassiata.
I move that we suspend the rules under the charter and read ordinance 45-2016 by title only for its first and final reading.
Second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Ordinance number 45, 2016, introduced by Councilman Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a 5-year contract on behalf of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, with Xerox Government Systems LLC of Urbandale, Iowa, for the purpose of purchasing Firehouse software and approving the application hosting and technology support services agreement for the fire department computer system, iPad Cloud for 3 users, with annual maintenance and appurtenances and appropriating the sum not to exceed $2,317 for said service and declaring an emergency.
Ordinance number 45, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. Is there a motion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Biassiata.
I move that we pass ordinance number 45-2016.
Second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Ordinance number 45, 2016 has been passed. Ordinance number 46, 2016.
Mr. President,
Councilman Barth.
I move that we suspend the rules under the charter and read ordinance number 46, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Ordinance number 46, 2016, introduced by Councilman Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an agreement on behalf of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, with Great Day Tours of Cleveland, Ohio, to provide transportation for a bus trip to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on May 4th, 2016, authorizing an amount not to exceed $1,612 for said service and declaring an emergency.
Ordinance number 46, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. Is there a motion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Barth.
I move that we pass ordinance number 46, 2016.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Ordinance number 46, 2016 has been passed. Ordinance number 47, 2016.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Petro.
I move that council suspends the rules under the charter and reads ordinance 47, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Ordinance number 47, 2016, introduced by Councilman Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance to appropriate an additional sum of $104 monthly for a change order to amended ordinance number 109, 2013, passed by council on November 11, 2013, which authorized and directed the mayor to enter into an agreement on behalf of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, with Coxcom LLC Business Services of Cleveland, Ohio, and appropriated a sum not to exceed $311.96 monthly for the purpose of an internet upgrade to City Hall and the City of Seven Hills Police Department, bringing the appropriated monthly payment to $415.96 until the end of the contract, November 14, 2016, and declaring an emergency.
Ordinance number 47, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Petro.
I move that council passes ordinance 47, 2016.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Ordinance number 47, 2016 has been passed. Moving on to ordinance number 48, 2016.
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Frondor.
I move that we suspend the rules under the charter and amend ordinance number 48, 2016 by inserting section 2, which will then move section 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Section 2 will read, this ordinance will not take effect for the Silver Sneakers / Health Waste program until May 26, 2016. For all of the programs, this ordinance takes effect immediately upon its passage.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Make a motion for first reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ordinance number 48, 2016 has been amended.
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Frondor.
I move that we suspend the rules under the charter and read amended ordinance number 48, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading and declaring an emergency.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Amended ordinance number 48, 2016, introduced by Councilman Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance to amend section 151.13, contracts with existing city employees as contained in chapter 151, employees generally, of Title V Administrative of Part 1 Administrative Code of the codified ordinances of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, for the purpose of including part-time city employees and declaring an emergency.
Amended ordinance number 48, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman
I
Frondor.
move that we pass ordinance number 48, 2016.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Amended ordinance number 48, 2016 has passed. Moving on to ordinance number 49, 2016.
Council President,
Councilman Kranek.
I move that we suspend the rules under charter and read ordinance number 49, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading, declaring an emergency.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Barth.
I'll be voting no because I don't think there's any reason to pass this on an emergency.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
No.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Ordinance number 49, 2016, introduced by councilpersons Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance to amend section 1121.03, compensation of the building commissioner as contained in chapter 1121, administration of title 3, local building provisions of part 11 building code of the codified ordinances of the city of Seven Hills, for the purpose of memorializing that the part-time building commissioner's position requires a 29-hour work week and declaring an emergency.
Ordinance number 49, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. Is there a motion?
Council President, I would move that we pass ordinance number 49, 2016.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Barth.
I just feel strongly that employee work hours should not be legislated by council. The building commissioner works for the mayor, and he alone should determine the hours and work week of his employees.
Thank you, Councilman. I would like to mention that the reason for this ordinance is as follows. In the council's first phase of making reductions and restructuring different departments, one of the first departments we looked at was the building department. And the council determined to make that a part-time position. At the time, the building commissioner was making $37 and change an hour, equating to over $86,000 salary. So council decided, when it went part-time, to make that job have a high end of a salary of $50,000. Again, part-time. When these discussions were taking place, Mayor Delaquila made it very clear to us that if we decrease the amount of hours for this position, the department's basically going to come to a halt. But council moved forward anyway, and when I requested from our finance department an update on the salaries of the new positions that the positions that we had changed, I realized that the building commissioner was now working only 20.4 hours a week, whereas a part-time employee can work up to 29 or 30 hours. So it really didn't make a whole lot of sense when I thought back to the mayor's statements about how if he works less hours, the department's going to stop. The mayor had every ability to put this position at more hours than just 20. Then the thing that really made me scratch my head was when I looked at the salary. When you are only working 20 hours a week, that equated to $45 an hour. So not only was he working less, he also got a significant hourly raise. Granted, that was at the discretion of the mayor, and he had every authority to do so, but council did not agree that that was the right thing to do, and it forced our hand to legislate this. I was very happy, though, last week when the mayor told us that if we move forward with this, that he would not veto it. And I'm assuming that you will uphold your end of the conversation, Mayor. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth,
No.
Biassiata,
Yes.
Frondor,
Yes.
Kranek,
Yes.
Kukrow,
Yes.
Petro,
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Ordinance number 49, 2016 has been passed. We will now have the first reading of ordinance number 50, 2016.
Ordinance number 50, 2016, introduced by Councilman Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the K Company Incorporated of Akron, Ohio, for the purpose of removing and replacing the spa boiler at the Community Recreation Center with one Stay Right Maxitherm SR200 NA pool and spa heater with appurtenances, and authorizing an amount not to exceed $6,500 for said purchase.
Ordinance number 50, 2016 has been read for its first reading. Moving on to the first reading of ordinance number 51, 2016.
Ordinance number 51, 2016, introduced by councilpersons Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an agreement on behalf of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, with Comp Management Incorporated of Cleveland, Ohio, for the purpose of administrating workers' compensation claims and online access services beginning with the September 1st, 2016 policy year, and authorizing an amount not to exceed $3,000 for said service.
Ordinance number 51, 2016 has been read for its first reading. Now the first reading of ordinance number 52, 2016.
Ordinance number 52, 2016, introduced by Councilman Traffus, Frondorf, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. An ordinance to amend section 141.02, Employment Authority of Director, as contained in Chapter 141, Division of Streets of Title V, Administrative of Part 1, Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Seven Hills, Ohio, for the purpose of adjusting the allowable number of full-time personnel in the Service Department.
Ordinance number 52, 2016 has been read for its first reading. Moving on to ordinance number 53, 2016.
Mr. President,
Councilman Barth.
I'd like to make a motion, we table ordinance 53, 2016.
I second.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say we're tabling this on the advice of our legal counsel, Swire Sanders.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say
Councilman
that,
Kukrow.
sorry, I'd like to say that, I didn't want this to be tabled because I think that right now what we have is attorneys planning the future of our city. And to me, that does not equal economic development 101. And I fully expect that this will be a project manager at some point will be put in place in good faith here, and this will actually move forward because I want to see it happen.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council President?
Councilman Kranek.
Yes, I'd just like to make my position on this, that although this is being tabled this time, it's my understanding this will be revisited within a period of 2 to 4 weeks is maximum, and action will be taken at that point.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further discussion? I would like to mention that I think this is a bad idea to table this. One of the reasons we put this on the agenda for first reading, and let me first state that it would not have been passed today. This will be amended. There's going to be plenty of conversations about everything involved in this process, including if we should expand the proposed PUD or not. There is a meeting set up for May 5th where those conversations are going to begin. Another reason that this was placed on the agenda originally is to hold the city's feet to the fire. All too often, the process takes much, much longer than it should in Seven Hills. And if we don't hold ourselves accountable, I'm worried that this is going to be delayed and delayed and delayed. Is there any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
No. Ordinance number 53, 2016 has been tabled. Moving on to ordinance number 54, 2016.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Barth.
I move that we suspend the rules under the charter and read ordinance number 54, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading.
I'll second that.
Point of order, Councilman, we need to amend that to include the new contract that we passed out in the caucus room.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we amend ordinance number 54, 2016 to attach the terms that were, to attach the terms of the agreement to this ordinance.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Ordinance number 54, 2016 has been amended. Is there a further motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Barth.
I move that we pass amended ordinance number 54, 2016, or that we suspend the rules under the charter and read amended ordinance 54, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Amended ordinance number 54, 2016, introduced by Mayor Delacuilla. An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an agreement on behalf of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, with Baruch Development Partners LLC of Cleveland, Ohio, for professional consulting services in regard to Rockside Road development projects in the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, appropriating an amount not to exceed $4,000 for said service and declaring an emergency.
Amended ordinance number 54, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. Is there a motion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Barth.
I move that we pass amended ordinance number 54, 2016.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Ordinance number 54, 2006, amended ordinance number 54, 2016 has been passed. Moving on to resolution number 31, 2016.
Mr. President,
Councilman Kukrow.
I move that we suspend the rules under the charter and read resolution number 31, 2016 by title only for its first and final reading.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes.
Resolution number 31, 2016, introduced by Mayor Delacuilla and Councilman Traffus, Frondor, Barth, Kranek, Biassiata, Kukrow, and Petro. A resolution approving and accepting temporary utility easements granted to the city of Seven Hills, Ohio by Thomas S. Vecchio and Anita Bryant Vecchio, Thomas J. Snitsky, Virginia M. Gradecki, Gerald A. Balzer, and Lawrence E. and Lisa M. Frank for the installation, construction, and maintenance of utilities, together with all appurtenances, appropriating the sum not to exceed $2,870 for the acquisition of said easements and declaring an emergency.
Resolution number 31, 2016 has been read for its first and final reading. Is there a motion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Kukrow.
I move that we pass resolution number 31, 2016.
Adopt.
I
Adopt,
second.
excuse me. I move that we adopt resolution number 31, 2016.
I second it.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth.
Yes.
Biassiata.
Yes.
Frondor.
Yes.
Kranek.
Yes.
Kukrow.
Yes.
Petro.
Yes.
Traffus.
Yes. Resolution number 31, 2016 has been adopted. Council will now be open to the audience on anything you wish to speak about. Please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Mike Lahette, 1038 Joy Oval. Been sitting here listening to you folks for the last hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes. Rules, regulations, laws. We all agree this is what makes our city good, what's going to make it be great. Right, Mayor? Mayor, excuse me. I was directing a question to you. If you'd be so kind not to be on your phone, I'd give you the same respect. Thank you. Chapter 997, Building Code, is about permits for a fence. And it states in here that permits must be required. It says here that drawings must be provided. Sometimes a survey may be provided, inspections provided, and this protects everyone. Also, there's prohibits on here too, temporary fences. We had a neighbor who was in violation, put a temporary fence up. Okay, part of it's on my property. That doesn't bother me, that's fine. What bothers me is no permit was pulled, no inspection was done. There was a violation submitted here by the inspector, I believe Mr. Vittardi. No permit, the legal fence, no post-hole inspection. Strangely enough, the gentleman I wanted to really pin down on this is Mr. Morrow. He's not here. He gave the resident permission to keep the fence. No permit, no inspection, no fees paid, no bond. Mr. Mayor, can you explain this to me, seeing that Mr. Morrow works for you?
I don't know the facts, and I'm not going to engage with you up here until I understand the facts. I would invite you, though, if you care to provide me with whatever you have, I'll take it to the. Building Commission.
I will do that, but if you were listening, I provided you the facts.
Well, I heard your version.
I'm sorry?
I heard your version.
My version. The version here is the facts,
Again.
and I will bring them
If
to
you're
you.
willing to provide that to me, I'll follow up.
I will bring them to you. Again, I think this is wrong. Again, there's favoritism. It was wrong. When I built my fences or built a deck, I had to pay a fee. I had to get a permit. I had to get an inspection. I had to get nitpicked by the building department 2 inches not deep enough on a post hole, and then this goes by. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else in the first row? Mr. Ryman?
Thank you. Jerry Ryman, 1044 Joy Oval. I have questions in regard to ordinance number 46216. This ordinance pertains to allowing the mayor to enter an agreement for a bus rental to travel to Pittsburgh and the Three Rivers Casino. Could you give me some background information on why we would be doing this and who pays for what?
We're trying to hit the jackpot to solve our budget deficits.
No more, sir. I'll donate.
No, these, I'm sorry. These programs happen often. They run out of the rec center. It's kind of just a pass-through. There's a fee to go on this trip, and it actually breaks even or might even turn a little bit of a profit.
Okay, that's not identifiable in here, and that's the purpose of my asking for clarification.
Thank you. I like my first
Good
version
luck
better.
at your goal.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why don't we go to the Bears bus line? Great, my kid plays hockey for them.
We can talk about that another time. Anybody else in the first row?
Don't be shy.
I like the gambling junket. Good idea. In the caucus room, heard a lot of discussion.
Excuse me, Marty.
Tom Jarvis, 224 Crescent Ridge Drive, Frondor. Thank you, 7 Hills, 44131. A lot of discussion about the new PUD, and all very useful discussion, I guess. Bottom line is, I think you guys really got to check the charter and see who's totally responsible for the establishment of the PUD. I think it's you guys, council, not the mayor, not the building commissioner, God forbid, you guys. So if this thing's gonna move forward, like I said in the other room, somebody, one of your designees really needs to talk to the developer. Developer talk to you, take the attorneys out of the equation, costing you money every time they touch a piece of paper. Just do what the charter says you're supposed to do and let it go. Michael Ahead's comment about Mr. Morrow and fences is sort of interesting because over the last few days I found out some stuff. Last week we heard Mr. Morrow say no permits had been drawn for the Lansong Mason Pignatello property, whatever that thing's called, the 16.7 acres that Mr. Mason talked about. No permit had been drawn. After my own personal observation, I see that there's a fence installed on that property, and apparently there's a blind stop for fences. I spoke with people at First Energy, actually exchanged emails with them. Mr. Morrow also said there was tree cutting activity going on that 16.7 acre parcel, as well as on the LSB parcel. First Energy said they have allowed Lansong to go in and clear vegetation. I don't know if that included tree felling. I've sent an email to Jeff Grafe asking him if he did any tree felling on the property. I think it's important that we know what's going on that property. And Mr. Morrow apparently does know something of what's going on there. I sent him an email, asked him to show me the places that he referred to, both at the east and west of that property, where trees were being felled. He hasn't answered me as of yet. So IT guy doesn't answer emails. But I think last week I heard Mr. Morrow say he's going to honor the ordinance for reporting at his will. He doesn't seem to be too worried about Seven Hills law concerning fences. I don't understand what this charmed existence is. I heard Mr. Traffus say tonight to Mr. Pignatello, what do you do? Somebody violated an ordinance. I guess that's breaking a law. If I called the police department and reported Mr. Morrow for breaking the law, particular to that ordinance, I don't know what had happened. You said it needs to be referred to the mayor. I don't know.
It's not a criminal offense.
Breaking a Seven Hills law isn't criminal?
It's not a criminal offense.
Okay, I guess I don't understand that distinction.
I believe it.
But I guess that's the way it goes. So I don't understand the charmed existence of Mr. Morrow. I'm obviously not a fan, but you guys really ought to consider doing something. We keep hearing what a wonderful person he is, and I see a lot of places where this is lacking, and his involvement in this PUD formation is ludicrous as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he's qualified to be in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else in the first row? Second row? Third? Second row?
1267 East Dartmoor, Chris Romano. So every time I come here, I'm going to tell you that I'm against the connection to this new development to Crossview, and also the issues that we're going to have with traffic on Crossview and Rockside when this development goes up with all the stuff that's going to be going in there. So May 5th, I'm also going to, I took a look at this 979. I'm going to save that for May 5th because there's a lot of things in there that are, I just don't understand how that could be in there, but we'll talk about that on May 5th. Next thing is, I never really seen a proposal of what's going to go on this land. I guess we don't know what's going to go on all this land, all the different areas. Like at that meeting at the Holiday Inn, there was this PowerPoint presentation, and they had this map up there, and they had all this stuff on there. Where do I get that? Where do I see that? Where can I get that? Is that on the city website?
The day after that Rockside meeting, I emailed the mayor asking him to put the presentation on the website, and it's not up. I can provide you a copy of that email if you'd like to see it.
What I'm more interested in is that map of, you know, the overhead, the like Google Earth map thing of all the places that are going to be in there.
If you shoot me an email, I'll send it to you.
Okay. All right, because I have some issues with these cluster homes, I guess they call them, or something. I don't know if those are going to be rentals or apartments or owner occupied or anything like that. But again, if I get that before the May 5th, I can review that.
Send me an email tonight, and I'll get it to you right away.
Okay, great. Last thing is, again, I would like to thank Mr. Barth, Tony, and Stuart for helping me out on that metal plate on front of my yard. I think the mayor had something to do with that too, but so that helped a lot, and we got that resolved. So again, you guys have been real helpful with that other thing with the water department, with that big hole in my front yard. So thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else in the second row? Third, fourth, fifth? Okay. We will now have the reports and communications from the mayor and safety director, Mayor Delaquila.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. I will be meeting with Mrs. Seeley regarding her complaints. The presentation at the Holiday Inn was a private presentation, not a matter presented by the city of Seven Hills, notwithstanding the fact that they did use the city seal in the presentation. I don't believe, though, that the city should be promoting either project or any project until we have a handle on whether or not there's a net economic benefit to the city or not. And as you heard in the discussion in the room, in the caucus room, there are significant remaining issues that need to be sorted out before we do anything further, particularly with regard to the PUD ordinance. We've made several requests for information.
Several promises have been made, both directly and through our attorneys, that the financial information would be forthcoming. It has yet to be provided. That is the sine qua non without which the city, I don't believe, should be proceeding further, and particularly should not be cheerleading either of these projects until we know what we have in hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Reports from the directors of departments and other officials. Director of Law, Richard Pignatello.
I have no report.
Director of Public Service and Property, Stuart Levis.
No report this evening.
And those are all the directors present. Okay, moving on to council miscellaneous. You want to start? Councilman Frondorf? Nothing? Councilman Petro?
No reports.
Councilman Kukrow?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Again, reminder, the Seven Hills Food Pantry needs food. If you got cans, spaghetti, peanut butter, whatever you can, bring it up here. Give it to Tony Terry, some at the front desk. And I'm going to be reminding you of that quite often. Maybe everyone will think about it more often. They could really use the help, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Kranek?
Nothing, Mr. President. Pax Vobiscum.
Councilman Barth?
Nothing at this time.
Councilman Biassiata?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to start with congratulating Ward 1 resident Fred Rogeli on his resolution of accommodation earlier today. Good job, Fred. Second, I'd like to remind the public May 7th at 10 o'clock is the makeup date for the volunteer cleanup at North Park. I'll be there if you'd like to help. Bring a shovel, rake, broom. We'll put you to work. Just want to briefly comment on earlier in the caucus. Spirited and energetic. I think a lot of progress was made today, and I'm hopeful that a process is going to be laid out so that we can get our questions answered and end up in a good spot for both the developers and the city as a whole. I thought it was promising to have frank conversation like that, so I'm glad we're moving forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. I have a floor motion as we discussed in caucus. I would make a motion to approve the settlement in the case Chandra versus the City of Seven Hills for an amount of $1,239.29.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata?
Yes.
Frondor?
Yes.
Kranek?
Yes.
Kukrow?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Traffus?
Yes. Motion has been approved. I only have one statement, and it's regarding the ordinance that was passed not long ago regarding department directors having to submit biweekly reports. The purpose of this ordinance was, frankly, to hold department directors accountable. Oftentimes, there are issues that come in front of city council that we are not made fully aware of, and we really don't know what's going on. And today, I sent an email that a majority of our directors have not complied with the ordinance. And the nice thing was, within an hour or two, I received, I think, 3 or 4 emails with department reports, as did other members of council who were copied. But the 2 reports that are still missing are from the building department and the police department. And I just don't understand how it's okay for department directors to violate city ordinance. And I was very disappointed, Rick, when you said that you tell them to submit your report, but you told them that last week and they didn't. And here we are, another week, no report. It shouldn't be this hard. We're trying to establish accountability and run a better city, a more efficient city, and every single thing that we're doing is met with resistance. And I'll leave it at that tonight. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Please call the roll.
Barth?
Yes.
Biassiata?
Yes.
Frondor?
Yes.
Kranek?
Yes.
Kukrow?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Traffus?
Yes. Meeting is adjourned.
Right away. Yes, I'm here to sign. Right. Are those original? No. Okay, that's what you got? All right. Same thing. Okay.